Hey, it's me, your boy Valkryies, and today I'll be doing a Yu-Gi-Oh! Tier analysis video, and today will be on Valkyries and Vampires. So, let's get started. First off, with Valkyrie, we have the pros. And for the pros, they have good monsters, they have good spells and traps, they can swarm, and it can OTK. Also, this deck can also overcome its weakness, which is really nice, due to their quick play spell, which basically allows you to skip a turn, so that way your Valkyries don't have to go back into the deck. So that is pretty nice. Also, this deck is fairly consistent as well. For the cons, it's a bit of a glass cannon. If you fail to OTK your opponent might just win the game, but at the same time, if your opponent's playing like a slow, grindy deck, you can potentially come back into the game. But more times than not, you're gonna lose if you fail to OTK. But this deck does actually have a few defensive cards that will basically allow you to get back into the game. Also, another con is this deck can fall to more than one disruption. And going first is pretty rough, especially if your opponent sets up a board. But that is most decks, to be completely honest with you. For power, I'd give this deck a 3.5 out of 5 due to their OTK potential, a 2 out of 5, a 2 out of 5 for recovery, a 2.5 out of 5 for versatility, and a 3 out of 5 for consistency. And overall, I'd say that this deck is a tier 3 deck. I honestly liked playing this deck, and I feel like this is a very fun deck to bring to a locals. Next, we have Vampires. Anyways, for the pros, they have good monsters, they have great spells and traps, and they also have zombie support to work with. Also, this deck is fairly consistent, it is versatile, the monsters can float, and they can set up disruptions, or at least a few disruptions. Also, they can snowball in advantage and in life points. Mostly life points due to their new gimmick. Their old gimmick was basically allowing your opponent to mill cards to the graveyard, and in current Yu-Gi-Oh! You don't really want your opponents to do that. So now you just basically drain your opponent's life points and add it to your own, which is pretty nice. For the cons, they can't play through multiple negates, but again, that is most decks, and going second is pretty rough, especially if your opponent manages to set up a board. Not to mention the problem with decks like Vampires and I guess subsequently Hazy Flames, because most of their monsters are high leveled, bringing them out on the field without your opponent stopping you from doing that is going to be pretty rough. At least not as rough as Hazy Flames, because at least Vampires do have a couple of normal summonable monsters in their main deck. Also, this deck is a bit slow. For the power, I'd give this deck a 2.5 out of 5 for power, a 3 out of 5 for defense, a 2.5 out of 5 for recovery, a 3 out of 5 for versatility, and a 3 out of 5 for consistency. And overall, I'd say that this deck is also a tier 3 deck. It's not going to really do you that much good competitively, but it is a fun casual deck you can bring to a locals. Anyway, tell me what you guys think about Vampires and Valkyries, and it's been me, your boy Valkryies, and I'm out.
Goodbye, Yugioh!